All right, ready to jump into the world of microelectronics engineering technicians? We're ditching the surface level today and going deep. Think of this as your secret weapon for interview prep.
Sounds intense.
It is. We're talking acing those tough
Yeah.
questions, navigating tricky scenarios, even how tools like RoleCatcher can give you an edge.
Because, it's one thing to know the tech stuff, but you got to convey that to the people hiring, right?
Right. Convince them you're the person to make sure those tiny parts that power everything, well, they're built and tested perfectly. Our career guide mentions these technicians work super closely with engineers. So picture this. You're in the interview, and they hit you with, what experience do you have in microelectronics engineering?
And maybe you're thinking, uh-oh, I just graduated.
Exactly, but don't sweat it.
This is where you tell your story. Did you mess around with Arduino boards in your basement? Build a robot in college? Heck, even just fixing your old phone counts.
Showing that initiative.
All those things, even outside a formal job, show you're driven, you're curious about this field.
Connecting those dots. So you're not just listing skills, you're showing how your interests translate to real-world abilities. Okay, let's say you nailed that first one, but then they throw a curveball. How do you troubleshoot microelectronics devices?
You gotta have a system right. Can't just say, I jiggle the wires and hope for the best. Our interview guide talks about this structured approach.
Show, don't tell, basically.
Yep. Like, walk them through it, say it's a faulty circuit board first, what are the symptoms, what's not working right. Then you get into testing. Are the parts actually working? Any shorts? You can even mention specific tools, like using a multimeter for continuity or an oscilloscope.
So you're not only showing technical knowledge, but also your thought process when things go wrong.
Exactly.
Speaking of process, quality control is huge here. How do you ensure the quality of microelectronics devices?
It's all about the details and sticking to the standards. You'd want to mention those visual checks, soldering good, components in the right place. Then there's the testing. Does it actually work how it's supposed to? And documentation, super important.
Right. Can't just wing it when you're building the brains of a satellite or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like those instruction manuals nobody reads, gotta have them. But okay, back to the interview prep. Let's say they want to know you're keeping up with the field. So they ask, how have you stayed updated on the latest advancements in microelectronics engineering?
Gotta show them you're not stuck in the past, right?
Right. But does that mean listing every blog post you've ever skimmed?
Nah, I think quality over quantity. Mention those solid industry publications, i.e. Spectrum comes to mind, or semiconductor engineering. Maybe even bring up a recent article that really got you thinking.
Shows you're engaged, not just name dropping.
Exactly. And it's not just reading either. Conferences, webinars, those are gold.
Right. Going the extra mile.
And don't forget networking, meeting other people in the field.
2 birds, 1 stone. Okay, switching gears a bit to teamwork. How do you work with cross-functional teams to achieve project goals? This feels like where those soft skills come in, yeah.
Big time. Microelectronics, it's not a solo game. You're going to be working with engineers, designers, even marketing folks sometimes. They want to know you can handle those different personalities, communication styles.
It's more than just saying, I'm a team player.
Yeah.
Got to back it up.
Right. Think of a project where you had to collaborate, maybe explain something technical to someone who's totally not technical.
Ooh, I feel that one.
Or having to negotiate deadlines when different teams have different priorities. Those stories show you can bridge the gaps, find common ground.
You're like the translator, making sure everyone's on the same wavelength. Now, this one might seem out of left field, but it's crucial in a detail-oriented field like this. How do you prioritize tasks when working on multiple projects simultaneously?
The juggling act. You're going to have multiple deadlines in this field, so they want to know you can handle the heat. Having a system is key.
What's your system? Are we talking color-coded to-do lists, fancy apps?
Whatever works, right. But beyond the tools, it's communicating clearly. Keep your team in the loop on your progress, any roadblocks, set realistic expectations, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it.
Being that conductor, making sure the whole orchestra's in sync. And speaking of in sync, how about those customer specifications? How do you ensure that microelectronics devices meet customer specifications?
So here's where knowing your quality control meets understanding what the customer actually wants. You got to mention those rigorous tests we talked about, making sure the thing actually works.
Well, it's more than just checking boxes, right?
For sure. Let's say it's a new sensor for a medical device. You got to get why that sensor matters, the impact it has on people's health. It's thinking beyond the tech specs to the bigger picture.
Being that quality champion, making sure the final product doesn't just meet expectations, but blows them away. Now imagine you're going for a more senior role, and they hit you with this. How do you approach training new microelectronics engineering technicians?
Hmm. Now we're talking leadership. It's more than just teaching the technical stuff. It's getting those newbies excited about the field.
Passing the torch to the next generation of, what do we call them, microelectronics wizards.
Exactly. Think back to when you were starting out, what kind of training clicked for you? Hands-on stuff, shadowing the pros, or more structured classes?
And don't be shy about any mentoring or training you've already done. Ever take someone under your wing. Create any materials.
It all shows you can not only do the work, but also lift others up while doing it.
It's like you're building a whole team, a whole vibe.
That's what it's all about.
Okay, we've covered a ton, troubleshooting, those all-important soft skills, even how AI like RoleCatcher can give you a boost. But, gotta loop back to something you said earlier, staying ahead of the game in this field that just keeps changing.
Right. Can't emphasize that enough. Microelectronics, it's all about pushing those limits, always innovating, making things smaller and smaller.
Which gets me thinking, as these things get so tiny, what are the challenges in even making sure they're good quality, that they're reliable?
$1 million question. When you're talking parts measured in nanometers, even the tiniest flaw is a big deal.
Like building a perfectly smooth road, but on an atomic level.
Exactly. And we're almost at the point where physics gets weird, quantum effects and all that.
Whoa, okay,
Right,
get a
right.
little mind blown over here.
Yeah.
So how do you even start to tackle that?
Gotta get creative. We need new materials, new ways to build these things that can handle those sizes. Our testing has to level up too to catch those super tiny flaws. But honestly, the biggest thing, a culture where everyone's pushing for innovation for what seems impossible today.
Not just building devices, but a whole new kind of engineer.
You got it. And that's what makes it so awesome. Not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. But if you're driven by curiosity, by wanting to learn and shape the future of tech.
Then this is the place to be. So to everyone out there prepping for those microelectronics engineering technician interviews, remember, this isn't just any job. It's a chance to be part of something huge. Let that passion shine through. Highlight those skills.
You could be the one to make the next breakthrough happen.
Love it. That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. A huge thanks to our expert for breaking it all down, and to you, the listeners, for joining us. Until next time.